name is Monica Emikati, a first-year college student taking up the Bachelor of Science Customs Administration. And today, I will be sharing to you my product or services that I choose that would be identify the supply chain process, and also it would be help us to know what and how your supply chain work. So let's start. So this is my presentation. The title is Reproduction of Face Mask During the COVID-19 Pandemic. So the product that I choose is face mask. Introduction. Face mask is a protective mask covering the nose and mouth. During the COVID-19 pandemic, face masks such as cloth masks or surgical masks have been employed as a safety protocol measure against the spread of SARS-CoV-2. In community and healthcare settings, their use is intended as source control to limit transmission of the virus and personal protection to prevent infection. So, wearing face masks is recommended as part of personal protective equipment and, and as a public health measure to prevent the spread of coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. Their use, however, is deeply connected to social and cultural practices and has acquired as a variety of personal and social meanings. It aims to identify the diversity of sociocultural, ethical, and political meanings attributed to face masks on how they might be impact to the public health policies and how they should be considered in health communication. So these are the content of face mask value chain. First, the the slide shown, as we can see, the main material is the process, the assembly line, the sterilization, the testing, packaging, and the distribution of face masks. Face mask value chain is specialized in inputs can be in short supply and hard to manufacture quickly. The main bottleneck in the value chain terms of inputs the non-woven fabric. Distribution has also been a bottleneck, including the shortage of manufactured of face masks because of the demand of supply chain. The raw materials. The fibers used in the production of non-woven fabrics are mainly non-woven, polyester, nylon, viscose fiber, and also polypropylene, acrylic fiber, polyethylene, and color master batch. Process input 1, a 20 grams per square meter. Mass material is made in a spun bond process which involves extruding the melted plastic onto a conveyor. The material is extruded in a weave in which strands bond with each other as they call 25 grams per square meter, in which is made through melt-blown technology, which is a similar process where plastic is extruded through a die with hundreds of small nozzles and blown by hot air to become tiny fibers, again calling and binding on a conveyor. These fibers are less than a micron in diameter. So let's proceed to process input 2. A surgical masks are made up of a multi-layered structure, generally by covering a layer of textile with non-woven banded fabric on both sides. Also non-woven, which are the cheaper to make a cleaner thanks to their disposable nature, are made with 3 or 4 layers. These disposable masks are often made with two filter layers, effective at filtering out particles such as bacteria above 1 micron. The filtration level of a mask, however, depends on the fiber, the way it's manufactured, and the web's structure and the fiber's cross-sectional shape. Masks are made on a machine line that assembles the nonwovens from bovines, ultrasonically welds the layers together, and stamp the nose with nose strips and loops in other pieces, and air loops. Next is assembly line. The assembly line is the medical disposable mask is mainly composed of three layers of non-woven fabric including inner layer, outer layer, and middle layer. The inner layer is ordinary non-woven fabric, and the outer layer is a non-woven fabric with waterproof treatment, which is mainly used to isolate the liquid ejected by patients. The intermediate filter layer is polypropylene, melt-blown non-woven fabric treated by electric. Next is sterilization. So after the mask is produced, it should be sterilized first with ethylene oxide and allowed to stand for 7 days to let the substances on the surface but volatilize completely. Next is testing and packaging. So general use masks and surgical face masks can be testing using ASTM IF2-100 and EN14683 guidelines. So when we say ASTM IF2-100, it is a standard that covers the performance requirements and test methods for materials that used to construct medical face masks used in providing health care such as surgical services and patient case. While the AN14683, it is a medical face mask made up of a 4-ply construction that prevents large particles from reaching the patient or working surfaces. The type of IIR face masks include a splash resistant layer to protect against blood and other bodily fluids. So bacterial filtration efficiency or BFE. It is efficiency of the face mask materials as a barrier to bacterial penetration. And next is synthetic blood penetration or fluid resistance or splash resistance. It is the ability of a face mask to withstand the penetration of synthetic blood projected at a given pressure. So next is submicron particle filtration efficiency or PFE. The efficiency of the filter material in capturing aerosolized particles smaller than 1 micron expressed as the percentage of a known number of particles that does not pass the face mask material at a given flow rate. Next is differential pressure or breathability. Air permeability of the mass measured by determining the difference of pressure across the mass under specific conditions of airflow, temperature, and humidity. Next is deflammability. So flammability, it is those characteristics of a material that pertain to its relative ease of ignition and relative ability to sustain combustion. Next is microbial cleanliness or bioburden. It is a freedom-form population of viable microorganisms on a product and or packages. Next is distribution. So free face mask distribution increased the proportion of customers wearing face masks by 6.0 percentage points, or adjusted at 95%, CI 3.5 to 8.5. Mean mask usage was 91.7% in the treatment group, or polled SD 5.3%. Practically all those who wore masks had both nose and mouth covered. So this is the K market segment or market distribution. So by distribution channel, they have a direct distribution. So the direct distribution of face masks or surgical face masks would be distribute in hospital, laboratories, community health center, which is commonly proposed or using magical surgical mask. Next is a retail distribution. So the retail distribution was distribute into the supermarket or hypermarket, pharmacies, convenience store, online, and others. It is a retail distribution which is the path of goods and services that they reach to the consumer to the vendor. Next is generalization or summary. Face mask is a type of protective mask that serves to protect against the airborne disease like COVID-19 and other diseases. Surgical mask is made by multi-layered structure, generally covering layer of textile. The fibers are used in production. The surgical mask in non-woven fabric or acrylic fiber, polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, and others. After the mask is produced, it should be sterilized with ethylene oxide and allowed to stand up for 7 days to let the toxic substances on the surface volatilize completely. And COVID-19 fueled the demand for face masks among the frontline health workers such as the first responders. In addition to avoid scarcity of face masks, government has initiated more investment in its manufacturing activity, which is fuels the growth of the face mask industry. Also, face mask market is segmented into distribution channel. It's classified into direct channel and a retail channel. By distribution channel, the hypermarket or supermarket, the pharmacies, convenience store, online and other segments lead the market. An online social media segment, most of the key player in face mask market strategies on promoting the product and on how the number of people using social media nowadays is increasing because most of people is working from home. So these are the references that I get some information on the internet. So that's all my presentation. Thank you.